Welcome to Whispering Loudly, the award-winning Workshop Whisperer podcast, as featured by Apple, with Rachel Evans, the #1 automotive business coach in the aftermarket, thanks to Platinum sponsor Podium and Titanium sponsor Mechanic Desk.
Whispering Loudly is a Workshop Whisperer podcast. Hello, I'm producer Mel, and we're so excited today to be joined by Jessica Dane. She's the team co-owner and commercial operations officer of motor racing team 888 Race Engineering. Having grown up around motorsport in the UK, Jess's first job at 888 was as a sub-assembly mechanic at the age of 18. Since then, she's worked in several roles and departments, becoming a shareholder in 2015. We are super stoked to have you on the podcast today. Thank you so much for joining us, Jess.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's lovely to talk to you guys.
Jess, we're really excited to be able to talk to you today. As you know, we have thousands of auto repair shop owners out there that listen to Whispering Loudly every week, and they're always super excited whenever we have anyone on from a race team. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm particularly excited, obviously, with you being the female co-owner of a race team. But also you've got a really interesting background around motorsport, so I'm looking forward to talking to you about that. But would you like to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I think that summed it up pretty well. I mean, we missed out the extra bits that I do on the side, but that's a good background. That sums it up. But these days, as well as that, I'm also working across the Australian Rally Championship as their anchor on 7 and on the TCR coverage, also on Channel 7. So doing a bit of TV work these days as well. And on top of that, I'm also doing a law degree, trying to fit in a law degree around all of that. But yeah, my background originally, or in terms of what else I've done, I've got a degree in journalism. I was a freelance journalist for a while, and then motorsport just absorbed everything that I do, and it's my life.
Yes,
and I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way.
And you obviously, that was born from your family's connection to motorsport. So your dad?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So he found a love of automotive and racing from pretty much nowhere. His dad was a doctor in the army, and his mother was all sorts of things, actually, everything from a dancer to a child psychologist. So he developed this love of automotive and cars and racing from nowhere. And he built on that passion, and around that, he's always held jobs in automotive. Started 888 Race Engineering in the UK in the early 90s, or around the mid-90s, in the British Touring Car Championship. So I spent a lot of my childhood at racetracks. Before he started 888, he was a very bad racing driver himself. So, well, not very bad, that's harsh. He was an amateur racing driver himself. So, yeah, spent a lot of my life at racetracks. Became a bit separated from it when he moved to Australia when I was 13. But refound my love for it when I went to my first supercars race in Bahrain in 2007.
So I was reading you came out to Australia, went back to the UK, and then came back out. So what was the eventual motivation to come back and make this your home and, you know, head down the path that you're on now?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So he found a love of automotive and racing from pretty much nowhere. His dad was a doctor in the army, and his mother was all sorts of things, actually, everything from a dancer to a child psychologist. So he developed this love of automotive and cars and racing from nowhere. And he built on that passion, and around that, he's always held jobs in automotive. Started 888 Race Engineering in the UK in the early 90s, or around the mid-90s, in the British Touring Car Championship. So I spent a lot of my childhood at racetracks. Before he started 888, he was a very bad racing driver himself. So, well, not very bad, that's harsh. He was an amateur racing driver himself. So, yeah, spent a lot of my life at racetracks. Became a bit separated from it when he moved to Australia when I was 13. but refound my love for it when I went to my first supercars race in Bahrain in 2007.
Join our free Facebook group, Your Profitable Auto Repair Shop, and join in on the conversation with auto repair shop owners just like you globally.
Fantastic. And you became a shareholder of the team, and recently that shareholding's increased. So what's it like, the difference between just working around the team but actually having some skin in the game?
So I actually became a shareholder when I wasn't working at Triple Eight. I had a stint in 2015 of going and working in TV production, and that was when I became a shareholder for various reasons. And it hasn't really been something that has affected my day-to-day jobs, or it didn't for the first few years. It was just something that was the case in the background. No one talked about it. It wasn't that well known. And then over the last few years, I said, I put my hand up and said, I want, this is my life. This is my family. I want to be an active part. I don't want to just be a name on the ASIC register. I want to actually have an active role in participating in the ownership of this team. And therefore I said, right, I'm going to start coming to board meetings. I need to start having a say in these decisions. And it went from there. And then when all of the recent discussions took place, and consequential sell-off of 40% of the business to Tony Quinn, who's now come on board as a shareholder. So it's great to have him. During that, I said very clearly, my goal is to be at 30%, and Jamie Wincup will also be at 30% eventually. And that's what that's what I wanted to do. So although Tony owns 40%, he's got the largest shareholding. I don't want to go anywhere. This is my family, and with my position as a shareholder with a significant shareholding, I feel like I'm in a good position to best look after the team and keep looking after my family. As cliche as that probably sounds.
So I imagine that when you made it known that you wanted to start going to board meetings and things like that, there was a process for you to learn the business side of what's involved in the race team, just like one of our shop owners, going from technician to owning the business?
Yeah, it's with Roland, my father, it's very much a case of learning by osmosis. He's a very good mentor and teacher to anyone apart from his two daughters, so me and my older sister who's in the UK. For some reason, he's always had this kind of he's just never embraced teaching us and being a mentor to us, really. So we have always learnt from him kind of by osmosis. So it's exposing myself, and it's saying to him, look, I would like to be, if it's something that I'm not exposed to, it's saying, putting my hand up and I want to be part of this. Please copy me in on these emails. Please include me on these discussions, because he's never going to tell me, so I have to work it out for myself. Yep. And if there's anything else, then I try to expose myself to the right person. So I'll sit down with our CFO if there's something that I don't understand in the P&L. Or I talk, Jamie's a fantastic businessman in his own right. He runs his own car wash and cafe on the Gold Coast, just setting one new one up in Brisbane. So he's a fantastic person to bounce ideas off and ask questions. So it's a case of finding the right people around me who can help me with specific problems and trying to learn from RD RD being my father, by example.
Brilliant. So for everyone out there listening, fantastic guidance there that you can be relating to your own auto repair shop is surrounding yourself with the people that have the skills that you want to learn, and knowing when you need to put your hand up and ask for help, because that's how we get the answers. So brilliant. All right, let's for a moment, if we can, talk about passion and moving out of comfort zones, because it's obvious that you have an immense passion for the sport. And a lot of our listeners, are very, very passionate about cars and about being able to do great work for their customers, but they're not always good with moving out of their comfort zone in order to take the next step. So what advice do you have, about getting out of your comfort zone so that you can go to where you see yourself in the future?
It can be scary. It can be really daunting. So I completely understand that. For me, I have learnt to trust my gut feelings. So I can actually pinpoint a few key times in my life where I've had a gut feeling and it feels like I have known what to do before I've known the why. And for instance, studying law was a recent one for me. It kind of happened over a period of maybe 2 weeks of this feeling that then grew, and I thought I really have to do this. I've got to work out how to do it, and put myself in that position and do something different, because I felt like I had become stagnant. There was a possibility of my role changing quite a lot when we were hopefully going to run a third car for a female driver called Simona Di Silvestro. That unfortunately all fell through at the 11th hour. And so the prospect of everything going back to normal scared me a bit, or not normal, but continuing doing what I was doing with no vision of where I was going next, that didn't sit well with me. And I knew that to change that, I had to step out of my comfort zone. And law, this feeling of studying law and going back to university, which is it was scary enough the first time, let alone the second time. Although it's much easier to be a mature student in Australia than it is in the UK. Yeah, it just kind of came to me, and then the why came to me afterwards, and I realised how applicable it would be and where it would be really beneficial. And I haven't looked back, although there are those moments, like at the moment when I'm doing 3 back-to-back race weekends and I have a research proposal due in 10 days' time, and I don't know how on earth I'm going to get that done. It's moments like that where I go, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Yes.
But it's in order to get out of your comfort zone, or in order to move forward, you have to get out of your comfort zone, and it can be scary, but it's always less scary than you think it will be once you start doing it.
Yes, and often the result greater than what you thought it would be.
Well, I hope that will be the case with my law degree.
So you're an ambassador of FIA Girls on Track Australia. Tell us about how that came about, and why it's important for you to share with the next generation of young women.
I hadn't actually noticed that I was one of very few females in the paddock until I think 2015. We hired a female engineer from, she came over from Germany. She'd been working for AMG. Yeah, so Romy came over in 2015. She'd been working with AMG, and for some reason, I didn't really understand at the time why it was a big deal that we had a female engineer. And it wasn't until I looked around pit lane and saw that she was literally the only female engineer in pit lane. There might have been some back at the workshops, but certainly in pit lane, she was the only one. And that really took me by surprise, and I started to notice it for the first time ever. And I think the fact that I hadn't noticed it is really testament to our sport, that as a female, I was never made to feel like I was singled out or different to anyone. Everyone just cares about how hard you work. So I looked at, I saw that Susie Wolff, who's a former Formula One driver and now a Formula E team owner, she started Dare to Be Different in the UK in 2016. And in 2017, I got in touch with her and said, how can we bring this to Australia? There's a massive appetite for it, and I would love to make it happen. So ball started rolling from there. And in 2018, we launched, and over the years, it's turned into Girls on Track because it's been acquired by the FIA, which is wonderful because now it's under one single umbrella around the world, and other sporting governing bodies can get involved as well and be part of this massive global initiative, which has a really good brand around it. But getting girls involved in motorsport through Girls on Track is such a rewarding experience. And although some of the girls who we interact with might never go and do anything to do with motorsport again, that it might have opened their eyes to be able to do something that they didn't know they could do, or something that intimidated them. If it gives them that little boost to say, actually, yeah, I can do that. I can jump out of my comfort zone, as we were just talking about, and do something that I would not have otherwise done, then that's ticked a box for me. And hopefully some of them do end up race engineering or as mechanics or even drivers one day, because I think STEM industries in general around the world, not only in Australia, can only benefit from having more females involved, because that changes the way we approach problem solving, and that really is what running cars is all about. problem solving.
100%. And I echo your thoughts around that. On our side of the industry, in the auto aftermarket, we see more and more women coming in to even take up technician positions. We have more female auto repair shop owners, and it's only a great thing for the industry in general that we're able to have everybody being able to make the most of the opportunities that are there. So fantastic. Okay, and just finally, you mentioned that you're doing a law degree at the moment and that it kind of came from a gut feeling that you had, but it was also around you wanting to prove yourself in another field and do something different. So what's your advice to give our listeners out there when it comes to trying something new or challenging yourself in a different way when you start to feel like, you know, you've stopped or you're getting stagnant?
You'll always surprise yourself, I think. People tend to hold back from doing something that might challenge them or get them out of their comfort zone because they're scared of failure. And I put a lot of pressure on myself to do everything as well as I can, but the reality is that I'm never going to get the grades that I did last time I was a student, because then I was a full-time student, and now I'm working more than full-time. I'm trying to, you know, be part of running a business and work for Channel 7 doing broadcast, or with Channel 7 doing broadcasting in multiple different categories, and trying to do a law degree and working with multiple charities and programs getting women involved in motorsport. So it can feel really daunting, and the fear of failure is massive, but you have to also be kind on yourself and accept that if you're going to challenge yourself, and you might set your expectations or your goals too high, you have to be realistic and kind to yourself and say, you know what, it maybe didn't turn out as well as I perhaps would have liked it, but I have to look at the wins here, and the win here was that I pushed myself and did it in the first place. So just take that step, and I can't say enough how much people surprise themselves when they do take that step, and then you're filled with pride, you're filled with this feeling of accomplishment. And you know, it doesn't have to be a 3.5-year law degree or something like that. It can be as simple as going to a networking event that you might not have in a different life, in a different month, you might not have fancied pushing yourself to do. But if it opens another door, the chances of you having a good experience are much higher than having a completely terrible, life-scarring experience.
Fantastic advice. And Jess, thank you so much for joining us on Whispering Loudly today. We wish you and the 888 race team all the best, and hopefully you'll get back to Newcastle for a race soon, and we'll be able to meet you in person. And if you want to make sure that you never miss an episode of Whispering Loudly and never miss a fantastic episode like the one we've done with Jess today, make sure you head to Apple or Spotify or Google, wherever you listen to your podcasts, and subscribe. Thanks so much for coming on, Jess.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, hopefully we'll be back to Newcastle very soon, and lovely talking to you.
Thanks for listening to Whispering Loudly, the award-winning Workshop Whisperer podcast, as featured by Apple, with Rachel Evans, the #1 automotive business coach in the aftermarket. Thanks to Platinum sponsor Podium and Titanium sponsor Mechanic Desk.